everybody, welcome back to another episode of Masterduel Going Rogue. In this episode, we're actually going to talk about an old meta deck that existed a while ago. I do feel like this deck can still compete in this day and age, and I think it's really one of the better rogue options if you're looking for something with a little more activity. However, I did delay this video a little bit because we did have some new cards drop in Masterduel this week. And in this case, Keldo the Sacred Protector is going to be making an appearance in our deck. So without further ado, I want to give a shout out to everybody. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I also want to thank everybody for the engagement last week. Most viewed video, and I want to continue that trend by giving you guys the best quality I can give you. So from the bottom of my heart, legitimately thank you. I enjoy doing this, and I'm really glad to be doing this for the community. Starting from the top, we've got our two kaijus. These are going to be our tribute offs. Originally, I actually ran Lava Golem, but not being able to summon with a Madolche deck is very, very hard to deal with. So in light of that, I went with two single offs, and I'm hoping that's going to be good enough. We got Madolche Puddingsis. I really like Madolche Puddingsis. She is a 5-star. She is fetchable by Petinkasur. And several other cards. The one thing about her that I like is that if you end a combo on her and you still have her on the field, if your opponent decides to try and remove her by battle, you get to pop a card on their field. I did record duels as usual, and there is one where that actually comes in handy to clean up some stuff, so I'm really hoping to show that off for you guys. But for the most part, she's just a really strong beater with a really good skill. We're going to go Messengelato. Messengelato is part of an actual full combo. The full combo actually involves all of these cards. But when Messengelato is summoned typically by Hoot Hoot, he can add a Madolche spell to your hand. And in this case, you usually want to go for probably Salon if you don't have one, or Ticket. Chateau is really nice, but not really the top priority for this deck. Magellan is actually really good. When she's normal summoned, you do get to pull a Madolche card into your hand. That's her bread and butter. She's really the starter you're looking for this. Madolche Petinkasur, if there's no monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon her from her hand. It's a turn 1 necessity that you get her usually. But that being said, even if you don't get her, you can go into her using Angeli. And Angeli we'll talk about in just a minute. But when she's special summoned, she can, of course, special summon another Madolche from your deck. Keldo the Sacred Protector. So, new tech that was just added. Almost all the Madolche monsters are Earth Fairies. There's not a whole lot going on. There's 3 Earth Fairies right here, right? Keldo is triggered by an Earth Fairy. When you send an Earth Fairy to the grave, you special summon him from your hand. He kind of works as a Called by the Grave on demand, almost to the point where I didn't run Called by the Grave. He has a quick effect that lets you return 3 cards from the graveyard back to the deck. This will negate your Maxies, this will negate your Ash Blossoms, this will negate, your Ghost Bells. He's really good to have in this deck, and he's also just nice in general for getting Gravekeeper's Trap, which we'll talk about as well. Angeli is another one of your Madolche monsters. When you tribute her, you can special summon another Madolche monster from your deck. If you stall out with Petinkasur not being in your hand, but you have Angeli can tribute into Petinkasur and it still counts as a special summon. It's really good. And then you've still got Father for Hoot Hoot. We'll talk about that during the strategy thing. Madolche Hoot Cake. Hoot Cake is kind of, you can banish a monster from your graveyard. It does not have to be a Madolche, and then you can summon another Madolche monster from your deck. Typically your target's going to be Messengelato. There are some times where we won't be using Messengelato, but that's going to be what's going on. Max C is Masterduel Standard, and Herald of Orange Light. We've got a lot of fairies. Might as well use Herald to conduct some negates. Masterduel Standard, I'm just going to speed over these until we get to the Madolche ones, but Harpies, Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, Raigakai, Called by the Grave, all pretty much staples. Evenly Matched is because we're preferably go second turn deck and we want to even out the field. Infinite Imperm is the only hand trap we run with the exception of Herald of Orange Light, and then we'll go over these ones as they go. So Madolche Salon, when you You get an ability to normal summon an extra Madolche monster from your hand. If another Madolche monster you control is in your graveyard shuffled into the main deck, you get to add or set one Madolche spell or trap card from your deck to the field. It's a once per turn effect. I hate that, but it's only balanced if it's once per turn. Because if you got a lot of these cards on demand very quickly, you would be very broken, and this deck would not be a rogue deck, it would be a tier 1 deck. Madolche ticket is when a Madolche monster is summoned, return from your field or graveyard to your hand. You can add one Madolche monster. If you control a face-up fairy Madolche monster, which is almost all the Madolches, you could special summon it instead. That's going to come in handy with all of the Madolche XZs are fairies, as is your Fresh Start, which is your League. So basically, if you control one of those and you shuffle something back, you always get to special summon a monster to replace it. It's very, very good, very, very powerful. Madolche Chateau is a boost field spell, and then also the first time it's activated, actually it's every time it's activated, but in our deck we only activate it once because we only got one. When it's activated, you shuffle all Madolche monsters back to the deck. So this is actually really good for some of the monsters like Pudding Sis that have an ability that doesn't work unless there's no monsters, Madolche monsters in the graveyard. We'll talk about Promenade. Promenade has two effects. The first effect is it's a negate. It's a flat negate. So don't think it negates and destroys. It does not. You need to be very cautious of that. But you can return a Madolche monster from your graveyard or your field to negate the activation of an effect. It's good in certain situations, and then once it's in your graveyard, you can actually banish it to attach a Madolche monster from your deck to your Exceed monster. Most of the time, you're going to want to target Pudding Sis because she has a ability that works well with Chocolate a la Mode. It's not all the time, but that's going to be your primary target. Gravekeeper's Trap. While Exchange of Spirit is in your graveyard, throw that out. We don't run Exchange of Spirits. You can only use one of the following effects. We basically, during your main phase, you can discard one card and add one Gravekeeper or Earth Fairy monster. We already talked about this. Earth Fairy, Earth Fairy, Earth Fairy. We want this card in our hand. This is a continuous trap. It's good to either dead draw off the beginning. You can get it with Keldo. It's not very tech, but it's tech enough that we want it. Plus, it has another effect, which is if this card's already face up on the field, you can declare one card name and then look at the drawn card for the normal drawn of your opponent. If you already know what deck they're on, you can make some pretty good guesses. There's also a lot of decks, including like Dark Magician, that stack the top card of their deck. So if you know what it is, it goes straight to the graveyard, and that's pretty powerful in and of itself, especially for a continuous trap. It serves the purpose of like I'm trying to remember if it's Valhalla, where it basically is a way to get a card in your hand, basically, for a fairy. So that's what we're going to do. I think Valhalla is the special summon one. For the extra deck, we're going to go over a lot of these. Zeus, we are doing an XYZ heavy deck. So an Exceed heavy deck means that Zeus is mandatory, as far as I'm concerned, and there is a duel where it comes into play. You got Chocolate a la Mode. She's going to be your primary beater. She can also shuffle a monster from the graveyard into the deck. That is not a detach ability. If she has Pudding Sis, though, when you do that, you can detach a card and then special summon a Madolche monster from your deck in attack position. That's very nice, especially since you can do it in the main phase and then get an extra beater. Like Pudding Sis, if you're already out of all the stuff, she becomes actually a 800 plus 500 is a 2300 beater on the field. Madolche Queen Tiramisu, primarily this is a control deck. By shuffling up to 2 Madolche monsters back from the field, you can in turn return 2 monsters that your opponent controls or 2 cards your opponent controls to the deck and shuffle them back in. That's extra deck, regular deck, it doesn't matter. It's a field clear and it's good, and then you stack on into Chocolate a la Mode so you don't have a really vulnerable card. Baguska is pretty much tech no matter where we are. We already know about Baguska. If you have level 4s and you're not running Baguska, you're doing it wrong. He will also be a nice target for Zeus occasionally. Madolche Teacher Glace Souffle. I did think about actually removing Glace Souffle from the entirety of this, mainly because Glace Souffle ability is nice, but it's not something that really comes into play in Master Duel. It's more tech, in my opinion, for like actual like drawn out matches where you have to worry about side decking and stuff, because it basically negates the ability to be targeted by effects. So it's unaffected by other monster effects, and then you can also shuffle 2 cards from the graveyard into the deck. So it's also another way to trigger off Salon and Ticket. I don't think it's that great. Abyss Dweller is a pretty common thing. We definitely want Abyss Dweller in a graveyard heavy way. So a lot of decks now are summoning from the graveyard. Abyss Dweller covers that. Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. I will screw up this name every time, so from now on I'm just going to call her Underworld Goddess, or Goddess of the Closed World. It's you're not going to have a problem getting 4 cards on the field, and if your opponent's got a card you can't beat over, going into Underworld Goddess is probably one of the better things you can do. Access Code Talker is a staple, Nightmare Unicorn staple, Nightmare Phoenix staple, and then you've got Fresh Start. Fresh Start, actually, as long as she's pointing to a Madolche monster, she will protect all your Madolche spells and traps, and she cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, as long as you have a Madolche monster in your graveyard to shuffle back. It really is one of the first cards you should get on the field. Typically what I do is if I have a full combo set up, it will be Hootcake and Messengelado that go ahead and make Sistart. And then you'll also get 2 cards in the graveyard since you're primarily wanting to go second to get Tiramisu to bounce 2 cards back. That's the deck in the nutshell. We'll go over the basic combo real quick, and then we'll go straight into the duels. So your basic combos are going to be normal summon Magellan. Magellan will let you then add a card to your hand. You want to get Pending Kasur into your hand. Pending Kasur can now special summon Angeli. Angeli you can tribute for a Hootcake. Hootcake you can tribute for, or not tribute, you use Hootcake's effect to banish Angeli. Angeli gets banished, and then Hootcake summons Messengelado. Messengelado sets your Salon, and hopefully you have another Madolche in your hand to normal summon. When you normal summon that other Madolche, whether it's Hootcake, Messengelado, or Magellan, it doesn't matter. You'll now have everything you need to go into the combo. Messengelado and Hootcake will now turn into Sistart. You got Magellan and Pending Kasur for Tiramisu, most likely. And then you can also kind of, if you're really concerned about your opponent's deck, if you're seeing something you're not liking, you can do worse things than go Baguska and then just throw Baguska on the field. If there's actually a target you can actually target with, attack with Baguska and then go straight into Zeus and then have the stack there. The reason I don't like doing that, I would rather use Chocolate a la mode, is because if you've already banished a Promenade for some reason, the Promenade can actually get you extra materials, and you can actually be a 4th stack, which is 2 Zeus targets. And since it's a quick effect and it doesn't have to be on your turn, it's super broken. So, with that being said, we'll go straight into the duels, and then if you guys have any questions, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. I will answer questions as they come along. Madolche has been around for a long time. It is a very good deck. As you can see, it is not a very expensive deck, actually, with even prices in TCG Player or anything. And by all means, like, enjoy the duels. Straight into duel number 1. Duel number 1, we are going to be against a Dark Magician deck. Let's hit it off. We're going first. And we go first into Ticket. Ticket into Angeli. Angeli back. Summoning Pending Kasur, Hootcake. Hootcake for Angeli. Messengelado. Messengelado gets us our Salon. Salon extra normal summon with Hootcake. The 2 Hootcakes go out into Sistart. And then, just like we talked about in the beginning, we're going to go Tiramisu, but we're actually going to bump it up to Chocolate a la mode, because Tiramisu's effect can't be used right now, and we do want to get the recycling effect from Salon and Ticket. So, we retarget with Hootcake. By shuffling him back into the deck, triggering those 2 off, we'll get a Promenade. And we'll special summon our Pudding Sis. So here comes Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is set on the field. remember, we know what this card is, so we've got some information. We are going to shuffle back the other Hoot Cake. We are going to negate Magician's Navigation. No thank you. So we will return the Pudding Sis to our hand, which will also trigger Ticket and Salon. So either one of those two things would have ticketed Ticket and Salon, but Eternal Soul. Okay, I have no other negate. This is going to be a Dark Magician. So we got a Petting Kasur, which we only know Petting Kasur Special Summon gets us our Pudding Sis. And we're going to activate Chateau, go even further. So here's our Tiramisu. Tiramisu is going to detach the Petting Kasur, and we're going to start shuffling back some cards from our opponent. Now, I make a misplay here. Eternal Soul's on the field. I should have targeted Eternal Soul clearly. When it leaves the field, the Dark Magician would have gone with it. That's fine. Chocolate All Mode on the field with Pudding Sis underneath. So if we want to, we can use her effect. I do not let Magic Karibo go. That's going to be straight up called by the grave. He's going to have to get his Dark Magician back the old-fashioned way. And in there for chip damage, we end him on 600 here. Couldn't quite get the turn 3 kill, but we're going back in. Now, he does get his Dark Magician back, and he activates Eye of Timaeus here in 2 seconds. There it is. And he goes into Dark Cavalry, which actually isn't a bad play. It is very hard for me to beat over Dark Cavalry, except he has a different problem. He actually attacks the wrong Chocolate a la Mode. He doesn't go for the one with Pudding Sis, which means we don't actually use that effect, but we definitely could have if we wanted to. There it is. Yes. Back. So we got it out of the field. We're going to special summon. Okay. Ticket. There's Angeli. And then we just go straight into Underworld Goddess. And you may be thinking, like, why would you go into Underworld Goddess? Well, Eternal Soul can still activate, right? We're just not going to let him do that. And that's how you beat a Dark Magician with Madolche. Do love Dark Magician decks. I think they are going to be, with the Chaos Magician support that came out, I think they're actually really borderlining Rogue status. And I think that with the right setup, you might actually see one make a Going Rogue episode here in a little bit. But with that said, on to duel number 2. Duel number 2 opening up for you all. And we are going second, which is what this deck prefers. So starting off, we got a Numeron Network, and this guy is playing Numeron OTK. No joke, except it's turn 1, which means he should have scooped. But he actually goes off and does Infernotrack Mega Cyclops. That's fine. It also doesn't work, because we are, of course, going to go straight into the battle phase and use Evenly Match. He did not have a negate. We clear the field, and then his biggest problem is we're actually playing Exceed deck, and Exceed deck is the only thing that affects Megaclops. So let's see how this goes here. Petting Kasur negated, so we didn't get the summon there, but that's okay. We are going to go for Salon. Ticket. Now, I do make a decision here to go Angeli and then Angeli straight into Magellan. I did that for a reason. I needed Angeli to be in the graveyard so I could actually use Tiramisu's effect. And then there we go. Bounce back, it's great. I'm still 90% sure you're actually not allowed to activate her effect by discarding a monster unless there's already one in the graveyard to target. That's why I did it that way. So we end with a Pudding Sis and a Tiramisu. To this guy's credit, he does not give up, and we do not waste time negating that, nor do we waste time negating this. I was going to just shuffle her back, but apparently he was not okay with that. Okay, so hand's in a bad spot, and we do waste time negating it here. So I do not want there to be any confusion about what happened here. I did that at the end phase so I could actually use both those effects. So now we've got Angeli and Petitcasseur, and now we've got Chateau, and we're going to activate Chateau immediately and get all those cards organized back. Keldo makes a guest appearance. So Ticket gets us a Magellan, and then Madolche Salon sets another Promenade, and we're not going to mess around this time. We're going to go straight into Petitcasseur, who gets him permed, but that's okay. We've got Magellan. Magellan hits the field. I no idea what he's doing with the new Marion wall here, other than setting another network, which there's no way we're going to let that exist another turn, so don't even expect it to stick around. Angeli into Hoot Cake. Hoot Cake banishes the Angeli into Messengelato. Messengelato grabs a Salon. Keldo. Gravekeeper's Trap. Boom. Now, Guardian Slime is a little unfortunate here, but we're going to go because I actually did bother to read this card and know that we'll just attack with Keldo and then we'll get in with the rest of the damage with everybody else. So, Messengelato and Hoot Cake into Fresh Sistart. We've talked about this enough. These two are going to go into Tiramisu. And like I said, there's zero way I let that new Marion network stay on the field. So unless he's got another wall, this is gone. I do not want that to happen. Especially on 4,500 hit points. I think he would have actually had enough to beat me. We're going to shuffle the rest of these back in. With Keldo's effect. That does work on both graveyards. I just used it on mine this because there's nothing. And then level 10s. I do go a little full combo here. I go full combo for two reasons. Reason number one, I have no idea what that card is in his hand. And if I would have just gone in with Sistart, and then he actually had like the Guardian Slime, I wouldn't have had enough to beat him out. So I do go full combo here, and I make sure that it's complete. So there's some stuff going on here, but this is all kind of relatively midding, and we've already talked about a lot of the tactics involved in this, so I'm just going to let it play out. Alright, and I went full combo, and it turns out the card in his hand was nothing. Yeah, that happens. But he's also a Nemerian OTK player, so I have zero sympathy for what I just did to him. On to Duel 3! I know what you're all saying. You're all saying, Underdog, you told us this was a rogue deck, but you're only playing scrub tier decks. What's about to happen? Well, we get our first meta deck. Start off with Salon straight into Mangeline. Mangeline goes into Petitcasseur. Petitcasseur gets Angeli. Here's our first taste of the full combo. Hoot Cake, banish Angeli. Messengelato. Messengelato grabs Ticket. Ticket hits the field. Boom. Sistart hits the field. Tiramisu hits the field. And I did make one critical mistake here, I realized afterwards. I should have actually probably used my second normal summon a different way. Because Herald of Orange Light is in my hand, and I have no way to activate him because he requires one of our fairies. So you can see we're on Sword Sail Tenyi, Monk of the Tenyi, and I just forbid him from ever using that. So he does go Raigakai. Raigakai does clear my field, except for Sistart. Because Sistart does that to people. So So we're going to shuffle back. Say hello to our little friend, Petinkasur. Petinkasur is going to get another Madolche, and we're talking about the Pudding Sis. Now, he tries to use the effect, but he forgets that he was called by the grave, and it doesn't stop you from activating it, but his effects have no way of working for the rest of the turn. So long Yun, and then I think he makes a mistake here. I don't think I would have gone for Baron de Fleur here. While Baron de Fleur is a powerful card, I think he actually would have had a better chance with one of the Supreme Sword Souls. Sword Soul Sovereigns, I think, yeah. But he does go ahead and grab my Tiramisu, destroys my Promenade, which sucks, goes for my Pudding Sis, and I use it to try and destroy Tiramisu. He negates, and I think that's also a waste of his negate, because until that's shuffled back, it's worthless now. But then he goes one step even further. Clearly, we shuffle both those back. Sistart sticks around because we have a card to shuffle back. And now he's kind of got a problem. The problem is my cards are still on the field, and he didn't use the stand by his phase to shuffle Baron back. So he was really counting on me not having the ability to clear him out here, and unfortunately for him, I do. So, yep, there's Chateau. Chateau, shuffle everything back. And then his world's about to come screech into a hole. Now notice, this time I did remember to keep a fairy in my hand. So, going in for another link. Why did we go for another Sistart? Well, Sistart means that we can banish her, or shuffle a card back in from the graveyard, right? So with two of them on the field, that means that we are always protecting our spells and traps indefinitely. And Tiramisu is going to shuffle these two back, and then we're going to chip in for the OTK. Technically, it's not an OTK, it's turn 3, but it is like 8,000 to nothing. I call an OTK, I don't care what they say. There's a la mode. Let's go. Back to the hand. Special summon. And then I get a little chippy here, so I summon Glass Souffle, which is absolute garbage. We talked about that earlier. And then just to rub it in, I activate the effect twice. Yep. Meta deck what? There's no meta deck. This is Madolche control. It'll never work. And Madolche has controlled the board and win. Actually, I'm really disappointed. So that is a meta deck. Granted, now it's considered low tier meta. Despia is the other tier 2 meta right now, and then Sprites. I mean, I do run Sprites for crying out loud. I actually had a match where this actually wiped out a Sprite deck, but it rolled off before I got a chance to record for you guys. So I apologize. I should have saved that. But normally we only do 3 duels, but I have one special bonus duel because shenanigans abounded in it, and I just thought, let's show people a bonus duel. So, bonus duel. Welcome to your bonus duel. Now, what's so special about this? I'm gonna hit the fast forward button here. So first off, the guy's playing Speedroids, and I do max C here. He immediately calls by the grave. And now I'm sad because he's about to summon 50 times in a turn. That's an exaggeration, but it's a lot. And then watch what I do to his little board at the end of it anyway. Alright, here we go. I know nothing about these cards, so expect no commentary. I know very little about Speedroids. I do know a little about Mechamphantom Beast. I mean, this deck used to be a nightmare to play against. He goes very, very wild and crazy route, but his board's actually pretty scary by the end of this, but he has a problem. He ends with Starlight or Stardust Warrior. Is it Stardust Warrior? I think it is. Yeah. Okay. Stardust Warrior, which is great if I was going to target him with a monster effect. However, if you can see the cards in my hands, that's not going to happen, right? there's the Mecha Phantom Beast, and so I did read my cards, so I know Mecha Phantom Beast cannot be destroyed by card effects while there's a token on the field, so he gets tributed off, and then I immediately Ragakai the whole field. I do not let him use Stardust effect to summon a monster or warrior back, and instead we start the Angeli combo. Wait, I can turn off the fast forward now. Sorry. Angeli into Pettingasur, Pettingasur into Hoot Cake into Messengelado, Messengelado gets a Chateau. Why Chateau, you say? Because I can't do math, and I thought I was going to beat him out, and I didn't. I would have been better off going Salon into Sistart and doing the regular combo. That being said, fine. So he tributes off, does some Speedroid shenanigan here. We're going to fast forward again. So there's a Synchro monster in his field that when a Synchro Tumor is on the field, he can Synchro Tuner it, summon it to the field, and he goes into a card I swear I've never seen in my life. Battle Wasp. What is this? Hama? Never seen it in my life. That's fine. So Battle Wasp Hamba for some reason cannot destroy my monsters by battle. I did not read this card. I have no idea what's going on here other than that he lowered my attacks and defense by 1,000. Whatever. So we have evenly matched. It's not even going to come into play. You know he's sitting on 2,000 life. I go full cancer mode here. I crash into his high Speedroid, knowing that at a certain point he's going to try to summon one of his cards back, and he can't out the Zeus. Here we go. And starting off with Speedroid. No. No. Everything to the graveyard. You've got nothing to special summon back, and you burned your normal summon. And then we're going to go straight in with the Zeus. I put Magdalene on the field just for extra safety. But shenanigans over. Zeus wins. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the duels we have for you. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and I quite appreciate you. And I will see you next week with another episode of Going Rogue. Bye.